Today I'm discussing 5 potential problems that you would face in your marriage-based green card application and how to solve them. So if you are watching this video right now and you are currently applying for your green card through your marriage to a US citizen or a green card holder, keep watching and don't forget to subscribe so that you can get notified when I post more videos with more tips about your marriage-based green card application. Okay, so I'm going to start off with discussing the main problem that I see when it comes to marriage-based application. What do couples usually worry about? What's the big thing when it comes to qualifying for your green card or actually getting approved for your application? So the number one issue that you can face when you are applying for your green card based on marriage is that your US citizen petitioner does not make enough money. Okay, that's a really serious issue because this fact alone can cause your application to be denied. If your US citizen petitioner is not making enough money and your I-864 is insufficient, your application will definitely get denied unless you are able to fix the problem. So stay tuned towards the end. I will talk about all the problems. I just want to state all the issues that you could face if you are applying for your green card through marriage to a US citizen or a green card holder. So number one, like I said, is your financial issues. Number two, there could be issues with your prior marriages. So if the US citizen petitioner was married before and not properly divorced, this could affect the current application. Or if the beneficiary was married before and not properly divorced, this could also affect the application. Why? Bigamy. You can't be married to two people at the same time. So prior marriages definitely raise an issue when you are applying for your green card through marriage to a US citizen or a green card holder. What other things could raise concerns? Accommodation. I've received questions from people who don't live together with their spouse and they're worried about proving that their marriage is bona fide. What happens if your US citizen petitioner is a student, maybe cannot afford housing or their own apartment, and they live with their parents? What happens if there's just difficulty with finances and they have to have a roommate and maybe you can't be on the lease because it's just a bunch of people, different scenarios like that? What happens if you're not living together with your US citizen spouse? Will this affect your application? Is it going to raise red flags? What kind of issues would this raise? Keep listening, keep watching for the answers at the end. Number 4 issue that you could face is public benefits. Receiving public benefits. Perhaps your US citizen petitioner received Medicaid in the past prior to marrying you, or you yourself, maybe because of COVID, you had to receive Medicaid for a short period of time, or you were pregnant and you had to receive Medicaid for that time, and now you're worried, how is this going to affect my application? Like, am I going to get denied because I received public benefits? Because there's that new form I-944 and it's asking about all these public benefits. If I ever receive this, what's going to happen? That's definitely an issue. So we'll address that and how you can solve that and how your application can be presented in the most positive light so that you can most likely be approved. All right. And the last thing I want to talk about is when there is infidelity or no interest in the marriage. What happens? I mean, surprisingly, this happens a lot of the times. You get married to a U.S. citizen spouse and you start the process of your green card application, and then all of a sudden your U.S. citizen spouse is just not interested anymore. Maybe they found somebody else, they're in love with somebody else, and they kick you out of the house or just leave the house and just leave you and they're MIA and you don't know where they are. What happens then? So these are the potential problems that you could face when you are applying for a green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. So I'm going to start from the top. I may not remember the exact order, but if you listen up until this point, you're definitely going to get the answers to those issues. If I didn't mention your problem in this video, be sure to reach out to me with your question, and I'll be more than happy to answer and guide you with whatever you need to get the solutions that you need and get your approval. All right? Okay, so the first thing is the finances. What happens if your U.S. citizen spouse is not making enough money? Well, there's several things. First of all, we have to find out how much is your U.S. citizen spouse making, and does it reach the threshold set by the USCIS for the poverty guideline, like for the finances, like how much. So for a family of two, this is the one I just know off the top because I deal with a lot of families of two, just a husband and a wife and no children, no other dependents. So in that situation, you would need to be making at least $26,000. I would say just make it 27 because there's some other numbers there. But online, if you go on USCIS.gov, you can find the exact numbers that you need to be making for your I-864 to be sufficient. Okay, so the U.S. citizen spouse, not the beneficiary. This is not about the incoming immigrant. This is about the U.S. citizen spouse. You need to be making at least $26,000 a year to be able to sponsor your beneficiary, that is your immigrant relative. So if you're not making this much, this is a potential problem, but how do you solve it? Well, several things. You can include the income of the beneficiary to match yours, provided that the beneficiary's work is approvable work that they were doing based on their work permit, not just work that you were doing outside of getting your work permit. I guess illegal work is what I'm trying to say. So if your beneficiary was working legally and they were making money and they can, they obviously you're living together and you're sharing the bills and all of that, they can definitely add their own income to yours to make it, reach, and then you'll be able to pass the I-864 that way. Okay, that's one solution. Or if you have other household members, let's say you live yourself, the U.S. citizen spouse, and then you have the immigrant spouse in the house, and maybe you have a sister, a brother, or an uncle, or someone else who lives in your house and who also contributes financially to the house. That person is considered a household member, and you can also include the income for the household member. So now it's either including the income for your beneficiary or your household member, and they would have to fill out another separate form to say that, hey, I'm the joint sponsor. I'm going to help this petitioner with my income to make sure that they're able to bring in their spouse. And in doing that, I provide my tax information, I provide my pay stubs and paychecks and all of that to show that I'm making enough, and here you go. So definitely getting help from your beneficiary or another household member who can be a joint sponsor. On the other hand, a joint sponsor doesn't always have to be a household member. So if you have another uncle or aunt somewhere else outside of your home who also makes enough money and wants to support you in the application, that person can help with a joint sponsor form, and you include that in the application and you can send that out. All right, I hope that answered the question for you. If you are watching this and you have been wondering how to make up the income that is required of the U.S. citizen petitioner, so these are your ways. You get your beneficiary to join in, or another household member, or another friend, or someone trusted who's willing to provide their financial information to help you with this. Okay? All right, so the next thing I mentioned earlier was prior marriages, how prior marriages could raise an issue in your current application. So prior marriages definitely need to go away. You need a proper divorce before you can marry someone else and then petition for them. So if you were married before and you have completed a divorce, make sure you confirm with whatever courthouse or district that you had your divorce that you have the right paperwork to show that. Because the issues that I have seen, especially for people from Nigeria who had prior marriages and now they're here and they're adjusting their status, is that the divorces either were not performed in the correct district, or is just not available online, because the USCIS can only verify your information if you're outside the country by looking online. So make sure that you check with the agency, whoever helped you with the divorce, the lawyers or the court, the clerks, whoever. Just reach out to the particular district, make sure it's the right one where your divorce happened. Make sure you have all the certificates and decrees. Make sure it's dated correctly and accurate to show that your divorce actually happened. Because you may be thinking you're divorced, but you're not. So even if you haven't seen your ex-spouse for 10, 20 years, you may still be legally married. So make sure you check all your records, check that out, and make sure that you don't face rejections or just flat out, you're just not eligible. Because if you're married to someone else, you can't possibly be married to your current spouse. So that being said, your current spouse is just another person. He's not going to be eligible. He or she's not going to be eligible. So fix that. Get in touch with a lawyer. Get in touch with me if you need resources on how to go about doing this. I'll be more than happy to help you with that. All right. And then the next thing I talked about, I think it would be accommodation. So I received several questions from several people actually really having issues with accommodation. They're worried that the USCIS will think that their marriage is not real because they don't live with their spouse. So am I required to live with my spouse when I get married or when I'm applying for green card benefits? So first things first, having a lease together with your spouse, or living with your spouse, is really just one requirement to show bona fide marriage. It is actually not a requirement, it's just suggested. It's a strong supporting document, because obviously living together is the first sign that you have the intention to live together and build a family together. Okay, so it's a strong supporting document. It's not a requirement per se, but it really helps. So, but if you are in a circumstance where you just can't live with your spouse, either financial reasons or for academic reasons, maybe you are going to school in a different state and you have to be there for school and you only see your spouse on holidays or something, that could cause you to be living apart. So that being said, having a lease, if you don't have a lease, one way to solve that problem if you don't have a lease together is to provide even more supporting documents. You can even include an affidavit which states that you don't live together because XYZ, because of school, because of work, or because no money, I'm living with my family or whatever. And then you provide more supporting documents to show that your marriage is bona fide despite the fact that you don't live together. Okay, so a lease is great, but it's not 100% required. It will help you to prove that obviously you have the intention of living together and starting a family. And also, if you live together, you can even get your utilities together and different things that comes with living together. So having a lease is great, but it's not the end of your application. Yes, you can still get approved even without a lease. I've had a situation where my clients had to move out of their apartment because of a mold infestation. And during the time of the interview, they didn't have a lease. But you see, that was not enough to make them not get their green card because they got approved. That was just one factor that we had to explain, like, hey, we can't live in a place with mold, so what are we going to do? You know, things like that. So never fear. If you're applying for your green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, reach out to me. I'll be glad to help you with I'll be glad to guide you through the process and have a consultation about what you need and other supporting documents that could help you if you don't have the most basic and traditional ones. All right? Okay. The next thing I talked about, the next potential problem, was the public charge. And this is a big one because, for one, the public charge is pretty new. And for two, it's been changing so much over the past couple of months. I mean, like, what is required, what's not required. What are we doing? What are we not doing? Nobody knows. So for that, I know if lawyers are confused, I can imagine how clients are feeling. So I'm going to try my best to answer all these questions about public charge and try to give you your peace of mind when it comes to applying for your green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder. All right. So public charge, what kinds of problems, like how can I overcome, how can I win if I already received public benefits in the past? Like, how does this affect my application? That's a legitimate fear. And here's the answer. Well, first things first, if you received Medicaid or any public benefits for temporary health reasons, that is COVID testings or pregnancy or something really temporary, it will most likely not affect you. The way that the public charge rule is being evaluated, it's a totality of the circumstances, okay? It's not just one thing and then you're out. So using Medicaid just once for a simple procedure or something like being pregnant, that's definitely considered an emergency. You will not be penalized for that. So if you as a beneficiary has used Medicaid in the past and you are about to apply, or you already applied and you're just worried about what the outcome would be, just have some peace and just wait for the USCIS to get back to you. But generally, using Medicaid for temporary or emergency circumstances won't count against you. Now, if it's your U.S. citizen spouse that has received public benefits in the past, that also does not affect you because the I-944 is specifically for the beneficiary. It's focused on whether the beneficiary, that is the foreign citizen that's applying for their green card, will become a public charge in the future. That means, can you take care of yourself here based on your petitioner's income, based on you as an individual? Like, are you healthy? Do you have health insurance? Do you have a potential to work, like based on your age and stuff? Like, they will look at all of that. So getting Medicaid just for a little bit, definitely concerning, but not like a big deal. All right. So I hope that answers the question for that. If you're in that category, you've received public benefits and you're applying for your green card through marriage to a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, yeah, that's your answer. So get in touch if it's not clear or if your situation is a little bit different from what I've mentioned, so that we can talk about your particular issue. Obviously, you guys know this is not legal advice. This is my social media, YouTube. I'm here to educate you and to help you solve problems, answer your questions every week with my videos. So reach out to me to talk about your particular case. All right. All right. And the final thing I'm going to talk about here is infidelity. Infidelity and no interest in the relationship. This happens, unfortunately, a lot of the times where the relationship starts and the petitioner agrees to file for you, and then maybe months into waiting, because immigration takes a lot of waiting. I mean, you could be waiting for 10 months. In that time, the relationship could just go sour. Like, it's just not working. What happens then? I mean, you're like, well, I already applied. Am I going to still get my green card or what? Well, there's several things here. If your U.S. citizen petitioner is no longer interested, maybe just fall in love with someone else, and the relationship was good up until that point, unfortunately, you can't really force someone to petition for you. So, I mean, you may have to just withdraw your application and hope to become eligible in a different way at a different time. You may become deportable. There may be other things that would happen for you, but you really can't force someone to petition for you. On the other hand, if there was some type of abuse, which I imagine there will be some sort of verbal, physical, or financial abuse when there's infidelity, you could still continue with your green card application based on that marriage, but focusing on the abuse, because the only reason why you won't be able to file is because your spouse, your U.S. citizen spouse or green card holder, is abusive to you and has now decided to break up the relationship after, stringing you along or just doing different things that led you to believe that you would be getting your green card, and now you're just here stranded. So if that's your scenario, you may have a way out, because the abuse, we could write an affidavit and a VAWA petition to state that this petitioner has been abusive to me in this way. You need to have your proof, of course, your proof from your friends. It doesn't have to be a police report, because obviously if it is emotional or financial abuse, maybe you didn't even call the police. So if there's no police report, that's fine. But just proof, either with your bank statements, proof from other people that you've talked to, if you've seen a therapist because of your emotional instability, or anything that has occurred as a result of that abuse, can be used to show the USCIS to say, hey, I had intentions of building a family with this person, but this is what has happened to me. And now this person has left. I don't even know where the person is. I've heard that type of scenario before. Your petitioner just disappears. So if that's you, you have a way out. Reach out to me. Let's talk about VAWA options for you. Even if you're a man, VAWA is available for men and women. Abuse is not just physical, it could be emotional and financial, like I said. So everyone is susceptible to abuse. It's not anything to be ashamed of or, even worry about so much, because now you know. Now you know that you have an option. Now you know that you can make a change, so you don't have to beat yourself up so much or continue to live in that situation. Just reach out to an attorney and set yourself free. Okay, I'm all about freedom and peace of mind when it comes to applying for your immigration benefits and getting the approval that you deserve. All right. So I have talked and talked and talked today. I hope somebody finds this video beneficial. I hope that you subscribe so that I can keep posting. I like to see your comments and interactions on my videos. It's exciting, and it's just great to be a real YouTuber. So yay. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching my video up until the end. I will leave my information in the video as usual, and I will see you in my next video.